Seniors, 5 foods you shouldn't refrigerate, plus the rules for cut, cooked, frozen, and processed. Do you place almost everything in your refrigerator because it seems like the most secure option? Here's the uncomfortable reality. Many people over 60 do this by habit, then feel bewildered and anxious when they encounter words like toxic, mold, or brain health. And the greatest frustration is this: nobody clarifies the exceptions. So you continue asking the real-life questions. What about cooked leftovers? What about freezing? What about ketchup and bottled sauces? What if your home runs hot, or you simply lack space outside the refrigerator? That uncertainty causes people to do one of two things: panic or stop trusting everything. In the coming minutes, I'll break down 5 common foods most households store incorrectly. I'll explain what actually transforms when they're chilled in straightforward language, and you'll walk away with guidelines you can follow without second-guessing. Here's the foundation. We'll use one simple decision framework: whole, cut, cooked leftovers, frozen, and processed. So you'll understand what belongs in the fridge, what doesn't, and what to do when your kitchen is warm or your space is tight. And stay until the end, because the final food is one almost everyone refrigerates. Correcting it is one of the simplest improvements you can make today. Food number 1, potatoes. If you keep whole potatoes in the refrigerator, you're doing it for a valid reason. You want food to last longer and feel safer. But with whole raw potatoes, the fridge can trigger changes that affect quality and what happens when you cook them. Here's the decision guide for this food, so you don't get confused. Whole versus cut versus cooked leftovers versus frozen versus processed. And here's the rule: whole raw potatoes do not belong in the refrigerator. Store them in a cool, dark, dry location with airflow, a pantry shelf, a cabinet away from heat, or a paper bag in a cupboard. Avoid sealed plastic bags because trapped moisture accelerates spoilage. And keep potatoes away from onions because storing them together can make both deteriorate faster. Now, the why in plain language. Cold temperatures can shift more of potato starch into sugars. That matters because when sugar-rich potatoes are cooked at high heat, fried, roasted, or baked until very brown, those conditions can increase acrylamide formation, a compound food scientists monitor, because it can rise when starchy foods are cooked at elevated temperatures. You won't smell it, taste it, or see it. So the controls you actually have are practical. Don't cold store raw potatoes, and don't overbrown them. Aim for light golden, not deep brown or burnt edges. There's another reason older adults care. If cold storage makes potatoes taste sweeter, some people, especially those managing diabetes or insulin resistance, may notice bigger blood sugar swings after a potato-heavy meal. This isn't about fear. It's about reducing avoidable spikes when a small habit can help. Now, the safety checks. Before you cook, look for red flags, green patches, heavy sprouting, soft spots, or an off smell. Green or heavily sprouted potatoes can contain higher levels of naturally occurring compounds like solanine, which may upset the stomach in some people. If it's mildly sprouted and still firm, many people trim and use it. But if it's soft, extensively green, or heavily sprouted, it's safer to discard. Important exceptions. This is where people get confused. Cooked potatoes and leftovers, mashed potatoes, potato salad. Cooked wedges refrigerate for food safety. This video is not telling you to leave cooked food on the counter. Frozen potato products, frozen fries. Hash browns, keep them frozen and follow package directions. Pre-cut or prepared potatoes. Refrigerate and use quickly. Real-life solution. If your home is hot or you have no pantry, buy smaller amounts more often and store them in the coolest, darkest corner you have. And if you worry about how the stores store them, choose firm potatoes with no green tint and no moisture in the bag. Then store them correctly as soon as you get home. Food number 2, onions. A lot of people toss onions straight into the refrigerator because they believe cold air will keep them fresh and safer. But for whole, uncut onions, the fridge is often the wrong environment. It's not only cold, it's also damp. And that moisture can speed up breakdown in ways you don't notice until it's too late. Before we go further, here's the decision guide, so you're not guessing. Whole versus cut versus cooked leftovers versus frozen versus processed. This section is mainly about whole, uncut onions sitting in the refrigerator for days. Main rule: do not refrigerate whole, uncut onions. Store them in a cool, dry, well-ventilated place, a mesh bag, a basket, or a paper sack so they can breathe. Keep them out of direct sunlight and away from heat. And don't store them right next to potatoes because keeping onions and potatoes together can make both spoil faster. Here's why it matters. Onions naturally pull in moisture from the air. In a refrigerator, especially in produce drawers where condensation builds, onions can turn soft and watery. Moisture trapped between layers raises a chance of mold or bacterial growth, sometimes before you see obvious spoilage on the outside. And even when it's not rotten, that breakdown can irritate digestion for some people, especially if you already have a sensitive stomach. It also creates strong odors and gases that affect nearby foods. Sometimes one bad onion makes the whole fridge smell long before it looks bad from the outside. Safety checks. Before you use an onion, look for warning signs, soft spots, wetness, slimy layers, visible mold, or a sharp sour smell that feels different from normal onion odor. If it's mushy or moldy, discard it. If only the outer skin is dry and papery, that's normal. Peel it and check the inner layers. A good onion should feel firm and dry, not damp or squishy. Important exceptions. This is where viewers get confused. Cut onions. Yes, refrigerate them. Wrap the cut surface. Place in a sealed container and use within 1 to 2 days. Cooked onion leftovers. Refrigerate for food safety. Always. Freezing onions. Chopped onions can be frozen for cooking. Freezing is different from refrigeration and can be a great option if you buy in bulk. Processed onion products, dried onion, onion powder. Jarred onions follow the label, especially after opening. Real-life solutions. If your home is hot or you have limited space, don't default to the fridge for whole onions. Use the coolest, darkest spot you have and keep onions in breathable storage. A small hanging mesh bag can work even in a tight kitchen. And if you worry about store handling, choose onions that are firm with dry skins and no dampness at the bottom. Then move them into a dry, airy spot as soon as you get home. If you accidentally refrigerated whole onions for a few days, don't panic. Just take them out, dry them, and use them sooner rather than later. Food number 3, tomatoes. Almost every household makes this mistake. They put tomatoes straight into the refrigerator to keep them fresh. But for whole uncut tomatoes, chilling often does the opposite. It doesn't just change taste. It changes texture, and it can reduce the qualities people buy tomatoes for in the first place. Here's the decision guide, so you don't get confused in the comments. Whole, cut, cooked leftovers, frozen, processed. This part is mainly about whole, fresh tomatoes that are still ripening. Main rule: don't refrigerate whole tomatoes until they're fully ripe. Store them at room temperature out of direct sunlight, preferably stem side up on a counter or in a breathable container. If they're not ripe yet, letting them finish ripening on the counter protects flavor and texture far better than cold storage. Once they're fully ripe, you can refrigerate briefly if you need to slow them down. Just bring them back to room temperature before eating for better flavor. Here's why. Tomatoes are living produce. They keep ripening after you buy them, and that process depends on enzymes. When you chill a tomato, those enzymes slow down and the cell structure can get damaged. That's why refrigerated tomatoes often turn mealy, watery, and dull. The bland flavor isn't just less tasty. It's a sign the ripening process was interrupted. One practical note: refrigerators have moisture, condensation, damp drawers, wet packaging. When tomatoes sit in that environment, moisture can collect on the skin and around the stem scar, which can speed up soft spots and off odors. You may not notice it at first, but spoilage can show up faster than expected. Safety checks. Choose tomatoes that feel firm but not rock hard, with intact skin and no leaking. If you notice deep cracks, leaking juice, or a sour smell, discard them. Important exceptions. This is where people argue. Cut tomatoes. Refrigerate, seal them, and use within 1 to 2 days. Cooked tomato leftovers. Refrigerate for food safety. Frozen tomatoes. Yes, freeze tomatoes for cooking soups and sauces. Freezing is different from refrigeration. Processed tomato products, ketchup, pasta sauce. Canned tomatoes follow the label. These aren't the same as a whole fresh tomato, and most need refrigeration after opening. Real-life solutions. If your home is hot, keep tomatoes in the coolest indoor spot you have away from appliances and sunlight. If space is limited, use a small tray or a breathable bowl on a shelf. And if you worry about store handling, focus on what you can control. Buy tomatoes without bruises or wet packaging, then store them dry at moderate room temperature as soon as you get home. Food number 4, garlic. Garlic is famous for supporting the immune system and the heart. So a lot of people try to protect it by putting it in the refrigerator. But for whole bulbs and whole unpeeled cloves, the fridge is usually the wrong place. It's not only cold, it's also damp. And that cold plus moisture combo can push garlic in the exact direction you don't want. Faster sprouting, softening, and quicker breakdown. Decision guide, so you're not guessing. Whole bulb, peeled cloves, chopped garlic, garlic and oil, processed garlic products. This section is mainly about whole garlic sitting in the refrigerator for days. Main rule: don't refrigerate whole garlic bulbs or whole unpeeled cloves. Store garlic in a cool, dry, well-ventilated spot, an open bowl, a hanging mesh basket, or a breathable container kept away from heat and direct sunlight. Avoid sealed plastic bags or tight jars that trap humidity. Garlic needs airflow. Why this matters in plain language: when garlic sits in cold, moist air, it tends to sprout and may develop a green center. A small sprout is common, but it usually means the garlic is aging, and the flavor can turn harsher or more bitter. Moisture also increases the chance of mold and faster spoilage between cloves. Even if the outside looks fine, the inside can become soft or damp, and that's when people end up using garlic past its best without realizing it. Safety checks. Before you use garlic, look for soft cloves, dampness, visible mold, or a musty smell that feels off. If the bulb feels squishy, if cloves are slimy, or if there's any obvious mold, discard it. If a clove has a small green sprout, many people remove the sprout and use the rest. But if the bulb is heavily sprouted, bitter, or damp, it's smarter to replace it. Important exceptions, because viewers always ask. Peeled or chopped garlic. Yes, refrigerate it, sealed, and use it quickly. Garlic and oil. Refrigerate and use within a short window. Don't leave it sitting too long. Cooked leftovers with garlic. Refrigerate for food safety. Always. Processed garlic products. Jared minced garlic, garlic paste, garlic powder. Follow the label, especially after opening. Real-life solutions. If your kitchen is hot or humid, don't default to the refrigerator for whole garlic. Buy smaller amounts more often and keep garlic in the coolest, driest spot you have with airflow. If space is limited, a small hanging mesh bag works even in tight kitchens. And if you worry about store handling, choose bulbs that are firm, dry, and tight with paper skins and no damp spots. Then store them properly as soon as you get home. Done right, garlic stays flavorful, usable, and far less likely to spoil. The goal isn't panic. It's simple, practical storage that fits real life. Food number 5, bread. Bread is a staple in most homes, but it's also one of the most commonly mishandled foods when it comes to storage. Many people put bread in the refrigerator, thinking it will stay fresh longer. But the fridge often does the opposite. It speeds up staling, ruins texture, and can create conditions that help mold take over. Here's a decision guide so you don't get confused. Fresh bread you'll finish in a few days, sliced bread, cooked dishes made from bread like stuffing or croutons, frozen bread, and specialty bakery items with label instructions. This section is mainly about everyday bread people keep in the fridge for freshness. Main rule: do not refrigerate bread to keep it fresh. Refrigeration accelerates a process called starch retrogradation, where the starches firm up and the bread turns dry and hard faster. People think the bread is protected, but it's actually aging more quickly. The bigger concern is moisture. Refrigerators are humid environments. Bread can sweat inside its bag, especially plastic packaging, and that moisture feeds microscopic molds. And here's what many people misunderstand. If you see mold in one spot and cut it off, the problem may not be gone. Mold can spread beyond what your eyes can see. For older adults, it's simply not worth gambling. So what should you do instead? If you'll eat the loaf within 1 to 3 days, store bread at room temperature in a cool, dry spot. Use a breathable bag like paper or cloth if possible, and avoid trapping humidity. Exception block hot climate. Fast mold if you live in a hot or humid area and bread molds quickly. Freezing is your best option. Slice it, freeze it in airtight portions, and toast straight from frozen. Freezing preserves texture and helps prevent mold growth far better than the refrigerator. Safety checks. If bread smells musty, feels damp, or shows any visible mold, discard it. Don't rely on just removing the moldy part, especially if you're over 60 or have a sensitive system. If you buy more bread than you can finish soon, freeze it. Don't refrigerate it. If bread is part of a cooked dish, stuffing, croutons, follow normal leftover rules and refrigerate that cooked food. If you're using specialty items with label instructions, follow the label. One more upgrade. The type of bread matters, especially if blood sugar is a concern. Highly processed white bread may stay soft longer, but many people find whole grain or sourdough more satisfying and gentler for steadier energy. Small habits add up. Keeping bread out of the fridge and using the freezer when needed is one of the simplest changes you can make to protect both your food and your body. Final thoughts. Before you click away, take one honest look at your kitchen habits. Most of us refrigerate things out of routine, believing we're protecting our family, when sometimes we're quietly doing the opposite. Summary: potatoes, out. Whole onions and whole garlic, stay dry and ventilated. Tomatoes, stay on the counter until ripe. Bread, never in the fridge, freeze extra. Now, here's the do-it-right rule that ends confusion in 1 minute. If it's whole and fresh, follow the storage rules from this video. If it's cut, seal it, refrigerate it, and use it quickly. If it's cooked leftovers, refrigerate for safety. Always. If it's frozen, keep it frozen and follow freezer rules or the package. If it's processed, follow the label, especially after opening. And let me say this clearly so no one misunderstands the message. This video is mainly about fresh, whole foods, how to store them to protect quality and reduce long-term risk over time. But when it comes to leftovers, the priority is food safety. So leftovers go in the fridge. Here's what I want you to do right now before you forget. Open your refrigerator and remove one item you shouldn't be chilling. Just one. That single action proves you're in control again. If this helped you, subscribe to Golden Life Health so you don't miss what comes next. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future videos. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Golden Life Health.